It's my absolute pleasure to be here today. Of course, I wish I could be there with you. Globally, AWS has over 55,000 community members. South Asia is the second largest developer community after the US. We're really looking forward to making it big this year for you. I want to start by thanking all of our heroes, ambassadors, and community members for their contributions. This is my first AWS Community Day, so I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about myself. My roots are from southern Italy, where my family immigrated to Australia in the 1950s. As a first-generation Aussie, born and raised in Melbourne, during the 80s, I was heavily influenced by the PC era, learning to program in BASIC on a Commodore 64 when I was just 10 years old. Some of you may not even remember what that is. I studied computer science in the mid-90s and graduated from university just in time for the .com era, where I became a software developer, building early web applications in C++ with CGI bins, Java, JavaScript, and Cold Fusion. I wonder if anyone remembers the Netscape Mosaic browser. Fun times. In mid-2000s, I started traveling around Asia, figuring out how to make storage area networks usable with software. I fell in love with the region's raw energy and entrepreneurialism. Those that know me know I'm privy to a good biryani in Hyderabad or a pad thai in Bangkok. In late 2000s and 2010s, I was done with storage and co-founded a startup building an app-based marketplace in the cloud before joining AWS in APAC. In 2020, I moved to Seattle, where I now lead our partner solution architects for strategic initiatives. At last year's Community Day, Jeff Barr's theme was rethink, reinvent, and rebuild. During the depth of the pandemic, he talked about new ways to work, how there are no longer constants and only variables, and disrupting everything. This year, I have chosen a slightly different theme, re-emerge. To symbolize this, I thought about a rising phoenix, a bird that rises from the ashes of its predecessor, bringing rebirth, hope, renewal, and progress. As we re-emerge from this pandemic, I think we should all be thinking about opportunities that exist for us, the skills that we're going to need to succeed, and how we can contribute to communities right around the world. Let's dig into these. The first opportunity lies firmly with you as software developers and cloud architects. Software as a service is not a technology or a new delivery model. It's a movement, and it's gathering momentum. It's a trend we've been seeing all over the world. Just as consumers, we enjoy the seamless experience of being able to deploy our apps to our personal devices, enterprises are looking for the same ease of adoption and agility for their users. This also helps them adapt to changing business conditions, as we've just seen. While the early adopters of SaaS have been mid-market companies, large enterprises have become SaaS first when evaluating commercial software. The pandemic has had a paradoxical effect on SaaS. According to Information Age, March 2020 was the highest month of customer churn in SaaS history, but at the same time, SaaS experienced a surge in demand. What remains true is, according to IDC, SaaS represents the largest segment of cloud computing spend, with over 41% of emerging ISVs seeing it as their primary software revenue. It's my personal belief that in the fullness of time, all business-facing software will be delivered as a service. The opportunity epicenter for this movement is happening right here in this region, in India. According to SaaS Boomi and McKinsey, the Indian startup industry is projected to generate between $50 and $70 billion in revenue by the end of the decade, and creating as much as $1 trillion in value. Just over the course of the pandemic, there's been 10 new unicorns emerge. As Paneet mentioned, what better success story to show this potential than Freshworks? Freshworks is the first India-based SaaS B2B company to IPO in the US and is now listed on the NASDAQ as of September, valued at $10 billion. They have over 52,000 customers, generating over $300 million in revenue, and experienced 49% year-on-year growth. Congratulations to the team. AWS has understood this imperative for a long time. In fact, we've been investing in it for years. At reInvent 2017, we introduced the AWS SaaS Factory Program, a team I now have the privilege of leading. At reInvent 2020, my team announced AWS SaaS Boost, a ready-to-use open source reference environment that helps builders launch a SaaS delivery model on AWS. It includes all the scaffolding needed to accelerate bringing your existing applications into a SaaS environment, and includes things like infrastructure provisioning, tenant onboarding, auto-scaling, monitoring, metering, and even integration with billing providers like Stripe. Since its public availability on GitHub in May, we've had over 70,000 visitors and over 1,000 clones. I invite you to check it out. We're witnessing another big shift. Industries once difficult to enter are now more accessible. Capabilities once too hard, expensive, or even inconceivable are now possible, creating new use cases. The cloud is continually making barriers to entry lower than ever before. Another big opportunity I want to talk about is a little bit further away from us down here on Earth. It's space. In late 2019, wildfires in my home country of Australia captivated the world's attention. This is what the eastern seaboard looked like from space at the height of them. 17 million acres of land burned. That's over 21,000 central parks, claiming the lives of 26 people, destroying over 2,000 homes, and an uncountable cost to our wildlife. In 2020, fires in California here in the US dominated headlines for the same reason. The fact is, once a wildfire reaches megafire stage, firefighters have no real means of stopping the destruction. It's easy to feel so helpless. But what you're looking at here is new technology from a company called Fireball International, an application that is able to do early detection, assessment, and mapping of wildfires. It analyzes image data from third-party based cameras and satellite sources to accurately detect and predict wildfires with machine learning. They receive and process 2.5 million images and over 30 gigabytes of satellite data per day. That's right, per day. And they're using Amazon S3 to store it and EKS to process it, and Amazon SNS and SES to alert frontline responders. In California, it detected the Kincaid fire within 60 seconds after it ignited. Truly impressive stuff. But what about something even further? Earlier this year, we witnessed a truly remarkable feat. In February, the UAE became the first Arab nation to reach Mars. After a 204-day voyage, traveling more than 480 kilometers, the Emirates Hope probe is now in the capture orbit of Mars. What is even more remarkable is that just 200 Emiratis worked on the project, which includes scientists and engineers, many of them women. It took them just 6 short years and $200 million. That's a fraction of the budget of most space missions. Earlier this year, I had the privilege to go to Dubai to film a special episode of AWS This Is My Architecture. I spoke to architects who built the solution that pulls the data from NASA's Deep Space Network, stores, processes, and distributes it to the scientific community. The entire solution was built on AWS using S3, various databases like RDS and DynamoDB, and it's completely serverless. For you curious space buffs, it takes 22 light minutes for a signal to get from the orbit of Mars down here on Earth. And it takes a big dish, like the one I'm standing in front of, to collect a signal only as strong as a butterfly flapping its wings. I visited Colorado, where I got up close and personal with the instrument that takes these photos. It's called the Emirates Exploration Imager, or EXI. And yes, that's me in the bottom right-hand corner in a bunny suit. I don't want to give too much away, so stay tuned for that video to come out. Now let's talk about another thing Puneet mentioned, skills. Each year, Stack Overflow runs their developer survey, and in May this year, over 80,000 developers told them how they like to learn and level up, tools that they like to use, and what they want. I found some really interesting insights that I thought I'd share. As you all know, web frameworks are crucial to today's application building. JavaScript continues to be the most popular programming, scripting, and markup language, with 35% respondents saying so. This year, React.js surpasses jQuery as the most commonly used framework, with over 40% of the vote. Here is where AWS's comprehensive set of services and tools to support native web, mobile, and hybrid application development really shine. A service I've been playing with a bit lately is AWS Amplify, an open source JavaScript library for front-end and mobile development. The library uses a declarative interface to make common tasks easier to add to your application. AWS Appsync is a fully managed GraphQL service that makes it easy to develop APIs to fetch, change, and subscribe to data. Anyone still building REST interfaces should definitely look at this. AWS Device Farm is an application testing service that lets you access an extensive range of desktop browsers and real mobile devices. All these services used together make it easier than ever before if you're a front-end developer, even if you have varying degrees of skill, helping you get your apps deployed faster and at scale. When it comes to programming languages, Rust reigns supreme as the most loved language with over 87% of the vote. Python and TypeScript are the languages developers want to work with most. Watch out for Julia. It's making its way up the charts very quickly. Rust programming was created to write system-level code without having to worry about memory or thread safety. Think of it as having the syntax advantages of a high-level language, but with the control and performance of a low-level language. Mozilla was the original supporter of Rust, and Firefox and Dropbox are two very well-known users of it today. In 2019, we announced our sponsorship of the Rust open source project. Funding helped the Rust community run ecosystem-wide regression tests with Crater on Amazon EC2, for example. It was a good start, but we wanted to do more. Today, we use Rust to build a bunch of products like Firecracker, Bottle Rocket, AWS Nitro Enclaves, and Lambda Runtime. We are also big community contributors, with Amazon having multiple Rust developers on staff, like Felix Klock. So if you want a marketable programming language to pick up, I definitely recommend Rust. Developers are still falling for Redis. Now in its 5th year, it's the most loved database with over 71 respondents saying so. Interestingly, the top 2 databases developers are interested in using are Postgres, with MongoDB less than a percentage behind. Also interestingly is Oracle and IBM DB2 take the last 2 places. Amazon has believed in purpose-built databases for a long time, and we have 15 services available today. In-memory databases support modern applications that require performance with fast access. Traditional disk-based databases offer data persistence and peace of mind. In August, Amazon introduced MemoryDB for Redis that does both. It's a Redis-compatible, durable, in-memory database service that delivers ultra-fast performance. The numbers are astounding. Microsecond read latency, single-digit millisecond write latency, clusters that can handle 13 trillion requests per day, and peaks of over 160 million requests per second. When it comes to scale, it supports 500 shards and 490 gigabytes of RAM per node, with the ability to scale in minutes. It supports 5 replicas for durability. And for security, we support AWS KMS and encryption in transit with TLS. Check it out. By now, you've picked up another theme from my presentation, open source. In July, Amazon introduced 2 new leadership principles. The first one was strive to be the Earth's best employer. The other was success and scale bring broad responsibility. While we started in a garage, we recognise that we're pretty big now, which changes things. We believe leaders create more than they consume and always leave things in a better state than when they found them. And we apply this to open source. The longevity and viability of open source is very important to our customers, which is why we've become a significant contributor and supporter of open source communities. You can see some of these here. We've made significant contributions to projects like Zen, Linux, KVM, Java, Kubernetes, the robot operating system, Solr, Lucene, and Elasticsearch for many years. We also have over 2,500 Amazon-led open source projects on GitHub. There are lots of reasons to become an open source contributor, but I believe these are the top 3. Firstly, working with others helps you write better and cleaner code. Being able to dive deep gives you a better understanding of the technology and how it works under the covers. And finally, it helps build your profile and gain recognition. As you can see this quote from Edgar at Workday, it's also a great way to get hired. To start contributing to a community, find something that you're passionate about and see if you can find an open source project. If you're not sure, attend an AWS game day or hackathon. I'm sure someone will inspire you. So to wrap up, this is my final call to you. As we re-emerge, what's your mission? What opportunities lie ahead for you? What skills will you invest in? And how will you contribute to community? Thank you for sticking with me and enjoy the awesome sessions coming up today. And I hope to see you in Asia soon.
Build. Go. Build. There is no compression algorithm for experience. Def and test are the most important workloads. Dance like nobody's watching. 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 Dance like nobody's watching.